Welcome back, State of Decay 2 survivors. This is Congrexes Prime coming at you with my overall review of the beta in Lethal Zone. And by beta, I mean by the current State of Decay 2 test server that they have running around, where they're testing out certain things like, for example, upgradable outpost, landmark outpost, and the last but not least, the Plague Territory, or the dreaded Plague Territory. So that's what this video is going to be about. There's going to be a little snippet towards the end where I'm going to talk about tweaks, which have kind of nothing to do with the beta, but it kind of does. So I'm going to tie it all together for you guys. So we're going to start with the very first thing, which is going to be kind of like a strong positive for me. It's going to be the upgradable outpost. So upgradable outposts, what are the things that are new about upgradable outposts? Well, number one thing is that you can actually upgrade your outpost to different tier levels. There's like tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Tier 1 is just your standard outpost like you would normally grab an outpost. And in terms of Lethal Zone, if you grab a food outpost, it'll provide you 2 food. So if you upgrade it to level 2, based off that 2, it will double. So it'll be 4 food. And if you get it to tier 3, you get 6 food. Now all the other resources are always stacked on onesies, so it'll be 2 for 2 and 3 for 3 on all the other resources except for food on Lethal Zone. So that's about the only difference that I'm gonna talk about in terms of like strategic value for the particular food outpost. Now there's also another extra thing that when you upgrade it to level 2, if you want to upgrade to level 3, you have to have, in terms of food, you have to have somebody who has agriculture. So it gives you the opportunity to train somebody that doesn't have a 5th skill into agriculture, or actually level up somebody based off your influence, which is another resourceful way for you to burn your influence. If you are like at 99.9999 influence, you will actually have the ability to burn that influence down and actually train your character to get to the 2nd tier of that particular skill or class. So to me, outposts are a plus. I think that if you want to use them, you can. If you don't want to use them, you don't have to. It actually gives you the opportunity to have smaller bases and actually be able to survive in harder difficulties with these smaller bases, which kind of gives you a little bit more of a wiggle room. Like, some of us don't like some of the setups of the larger bases. There's a few that I don't like. And this gives you the ability not to move to those big bases. You can actually just, stay on a little base or a medium-sized base, which to me is pretty awesome. So overall, I think the outposts are a great idea. They still need to be tweaked a little bit. I think there needs to be more of a pro and con. For example, I think I've talked about this in the Prime Directive, where I said that if you, let's say, take a medical facility and like a clinic, then all the resources of the clinic should be at your disposal. Therefore, you can maybe have a bonus to healing towards plague faster, or injuries, or a combination of both. But it requires you to have your doctor on station. So not necessarily that your doctor is there, but that the manpower of the doctor is there. So you see what I'm saying? So it'll balance out the equation, and you can get something more for upgrading, let's say, to level 3, which to me, level 3 is just one extra resource. That's the benefit of having it. So overall, I think that upgradable outposts are a good idea. We are not going to talk about the landmark outposts. Landmark outpost upgrades or outposts that you can grab that are specific entitled to that map and that map alone. And is this a good idea? On paper it is. I really think that in order to really take advantage of having a landmark outpost, you really need more than just one. At least 2, possibly 3 per map. Because, like, for example, in Meager Valley, if you already have the boon for power, then the landmark outpost there is totally useless. It doesn't play for you. Now, if you don't have the power boon, then it gives you another option to have a different type of power source. But you can technically, get power from a conventional power station and just supply it with the fuel. So that one, to me, is the only one that's kind of like, so. The other ones are good ideas on paper, and like I said, if there were just more than one, I think Undead Labs will be onto something, and maybe just a slight more of a variation, because some of the strategic stuff is very similar, specifically in, I want to say it was Meager Valley and Cascade Hills. It's very similar. So like I said, I think that they're onto something good. I think it's a good idea, but it still needs to be tweaked up a little bit for it to be very, very valuable. I specifically, like I said, the one in Meager Valley, it's kind of like, I don't know. To me, it's not the greatest strategic point to have, unless you don't have the power boom. But enough said. Landmark outposts, I think, it's a good start. I think it needs to, get to a point where there's more value to having those actual landmarks. So enough of that. We're gonna move on to the last thing, which is gonna be Plague Heart territories. All right, guys, the controversial Plague Heart territories, the new hot button for Undead Labs. There's a lot of you guys that feel a certain way about this. There's definitely mixed feelings, at least in my community, about this particular update or upgrade or whatever you want to call this new thing that's going to happen, possibly, that we've been beta testing pretty much. And I would have to say that there are some ups and there are some downs in Plague Heart territories. I'm going to give you guys the ups, the things that I really, really liked about Plague Heart territories. The number one thing I liked was the music. Like when you first walk in, the whole ambient sound is completely different now when you go into Plague Heart. It's also the sound of the Plague Heart is different as well. And the other thing that's different, it's the atmosphere. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you a clip of one of my streams where this is my first time encountering the Plague Heart. And you're going to see how I react to it firsthand, because I think it's a valuable learning tool for somebody like, that actually sees this for the first time, or can probably say, okay, well, I see where he's coming from. So if you guys don't mind, check out this clip real quick from my stream, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's see what happens. Okay, they've changed how tough these hearts are. They lied. That's 8 hits. It should have been bleeding. 9. Okay. Whoa. They changed the sound effects, guys. You guys heard that? Let's talk about the things I didn't like about Plague Territories. One thing I didn't like about Plague Territories were the astronomical amount of zombies that would come out from the floorboards, from behind you. Let's say you approach a heart and it looks like there's nothing there, and then you walk in and there's 2 zombies, and you're like, okay, no problem, I can take care of these 2 zombies. Then all of a sudden you have 10 zombies in front of you, 20 behind you, Pharaoh coming through the window, and you're like, what the F, man? Like, had I known all this was in here, I would not have made this approach this way. So in a way, something has to be done with the way the zombies are being spawned into these Plague Territories, let alone into these Plague Hearts. Because at the end of the day, it can get very frustrating when a zombie can almost plague you with one shot. Like if they grab you, it's 70 to 80, sometimes 90% plagued. And if you got a little bit of plague already on you, because they do something called a Berserker Barrage. Okay, that's a little bit on the extreme side, but Berserker Barrage. But that's what it feels like. They're constantly coming at you. You can't counter that. You can't do anything unless you do a front grab, or you try to sometimes dodge, but dodge doesn't always work as well. You might get plagued in the process. It's just something that they need to tone down a little bit, guys. Make it a little bit more, I don't want to call it realistic, but more like not less immersion breaking. Give the players the control of their characters. Also, spawning zombies from thin air, I'm not a fan of. As you guys see in this clip, I'm running in my truck and a bloater appears from nowhere. I get trashed, and again, it resets my encounter. Now I gotta go home, I gotta reset this character, I gotta grab something else. Also, if you guys can see in this clip, you see my character grab and then the zombies disappear. That's something else that they need to fix. So these are like a lot of glitches that this game has currently, and this added difficulty also gets something even worse. The AI in this beta is atrocious. I'm gonna show you a display here of how one of my characters, how I lost my first character in this beta. It wasn't to my doing, it was to her sitting in plague juice, as you guys can see right here, and not moving, not doing anything, just sitting in front of the zombie, just sitting in the plague juice. You guys see that? So I'm like, oh man, she's gonna die. And I knew that she was in the infirmary, so what I was trying to do is take control of her so I can pull her out of there. And I couldn't even do that. I couldn't take control of the character. She ends up dying, and then that's how I lose my first character in this beta. So Was I a little bit sore? Yes, I was. These are all changes and tweaks that Undead Labs needs to do. They need to make the AI either less susceptible to the plague or make them more competent so they're not sitting in the juice and dying. I don't find joy in watching my characters do stupid stuff that I'm not in control of. So that's just my take on it, guys. I know it sounds a little bit strong, but it's just, I know I was pretty frustrated with the AI in this beta. If you guys agree or disagree, don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for your support. You guys have a great day or night. Live in peace. Congrexes. Checking out.